you actually get to decide the boundaries that you have with the internet. Don't let the internet decide for you. Hello, angels, baddies, and bitches. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber Akilla. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud at Amber Akilla. I'm a DJ, a music producer, content creator, and I also have a podcast called Friend Crush with Amber Akilla, over 100 episodes, I think, and also subscriber-only voice memo chaotic episodes. I'm focusing more on YouTube at the moment, but every now and then I'll have podcast episodes, and I'm still figuring out if I should upload the audio of these YouTube videos to the podcast platforms, but then it will also upload an audio-only version to YouTube. But let me know your thoughts on that. Thank you for supporting the channel so far. I'm so grateful for all the comments and the messages that I've received. And yeah, subscribe, like, keep commenting, etc. And I'll keep creating. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's video is about being a chronically online clown, managing online social media addiction, and how to just set better boundaries with the internet. This is something that I've been working on for years, okay? Like, I've been having mental breakdowns over my relationship with the internet since I was a teenager. And I am a younger millennial, so I still grew up in a time where there weren't smartphones and you could be on Facebook or MySpace and log off and not have to carry it with you in your pocket, you know? And I was like bullied on Facebook. So I deactivated a lot of social media for the last 2 years of high school. And yeah, I've always had this like tumultuous relationship with the internet because I grew up in a very culturally and physically isolated place, and I had a very emotionally isolating experience growing up. So much of my interests were developed from the things that I learned online. And I think that, you know, I still love being on the internet. I create content. If you follow me on TikTok, I've been making content on there since like 2021. I've been on Instagram for a really long time. And I'm very grateful for all of the knowledge and the connections and the experiences that the internet has facilitated. But I think that we really are at this point in society where colonization of the mind is one of the final frontiers of capitalism, and doing it through social media and through the internet is the main tool that's like it's propagated through. And then other than that, it's the colonization of water and air, specifically vaping. That's a totally different topic, but I just want to say as an aside, like, to me, vaping is the colonization of air, because why are people who live with the privilege of having decent quality air paying to make it worse and then also create ongoing health problems for themselves? Obviously, I understand that an addiction is not as easy to break. And my content is not like breaking down the science behind what I'm saying. I am just trying to relay this information to you in different language that's going to help you actually take action in your life, okay? Because the fact that addictions can be overcome is not new information. There's scientific studies, there's personal testimonials, and yeah, I don't want to get into like addiction shaming or anything, because it's not a shameful thing to have an addiction. But I think that it is possible to overcome them. And I think that online addiction, digital addiction, is a huge issue now. And for me personally, one of my core values is having mental independence of the mind, and to be able to actually like sit in my reality and to have a level of self-awareness. You know, you can't be perfectly self-aware. You can't have a perfect opinion and understanding of everything. I talk about the 80-20 rule. I'm always open to new information. I'm always open to the idea that I'm wrong or that there are more things for me to learn. I'm not certain of anything in life anymore. If you've watched my 30 things I've realized before 30 video. Yeah, I do think that having a healthy relationship with the internet is really important moving forward, especially because it's pretty much like integrated into our lives now. It's very difficult to live a fully offline life. I respect anyone that's doing that. It's not going to be me because I still love the internet. And these are just tips, tricks, things to think about, practices that I have in place or I have tried that have allowed me to develop a healthy relationship with the internet. Because when you are addicted, you don't actually realize how emotionally charged you might be. Like, you enter this state of like mental and physical numbness also when you're doom scrolling. Okay, I'm sure we all relate to this feeling, and there's nothing wrong with a little doom scroll here and now. I personally love a good doom scroll. I love a meme. I love crashing out on the internet every now and then when I'm going through PMS. You know, you want to do it in a way that isn't going to have like treacherous long-term effects on your mental health and on your digital footprint. But anyway, so I think that even though I'm online a lot and I'm a content creator and my personality is very much influenced by the internet, like the way that I speak, my sense of humor, etc., I do try to have very strict boundaries around how I spend my time on the internet and how much time I spend on the internet and where on the internet I'm spending my time, okay? And how I spend my time and what I create and what I consume. Because your digital diet is very similar to your food and drink diet, okay? It needs to nourish you, or it needs to provide value, because the same way that your health is like a physical reflection of your diet and your physical activity and your sleep, your mental health is also a reflection of the information that you are consuming. And I think that we very much overlook the impact that social media and content has on us. I think a lot of us have become extremely desensitized to objectification, sexualization, violence, hateful media, misinformation. There's also a whole other discussion to be had about porn addiction as well. People that are addicted to gaming, online gambling, online shopping, like literally everything can become an addiction. An addiction is not just something that's limited to like drugs and alcohol. Anything that you feel like you have to do, anything that is, what's like the definition that guy, the Ho doctor, Andrew Huberman, a narrowing, not having control over doing, taking, or using something to the point where it could be harmful to you. Okay, like I always talk about how you don't want to be meeting other people's best interests at the expense of your own. And when you are addicted to social media, you are meeting the best interests of corporations at the expense of your own. Okay, so literally from every perspective that you look at it, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, political, having an internet addiction, not good, cannot really be justified. Because even if you don't care about your mental health, you don't care about your physical health, maybe you are a political person, and to satisfy the needs of faceless corporations at the expense of your mental health, at the expense of your well-being as a human, and now you're just considered a consumer or a user, you know, stand up. So for me, I still feel like I have like a mild internet addiction, because I am prone to just like opening my phone and having a scroll on any app when I'm bored or on a commute or something. But I do try to be mindful, or I am a lot more mindful than I was before. So let me just outline some ideas for you to consider. So this is kind of like in no particular order. I think if you are in like a really deep internet addiction, spending some time going fully cold turkey is helpful. I think it was in 2020, I was like so depressed. And also previously, I'd also done this before, where I deactivated my Instagram, deactivated my Facebook, I think, deactivated my Twitter, or like deleted all the apps from my phone. And I think it was maybe 2 or 3 months, I was just living, touching grass, and the only like social media I would use, I think, was occasionally Twitter via the Safari app on my phone, Pinterest to look at pictures and like But the memes on Pinterest are like generally more wholesome than the ones on Twitter and Tumblr, because Tumblr is like social media without the socializing, at least for my account. So that's what I was doing. I think parts of my brain were rewired in the process of that, and I spent more time reading than scrolling. So that's the first one, full deactivation. Unless your job really requires you to be on social media, all of these things can be adjusted according to your needs and your lifestyle and, you know, where you're at. If your job requires you to be on social media, you can start a new account that only follows the accounts relevant to your job, and you're no longer posting on your behalf, or you're no longer looking at content on your behalf. That's really important. Okay, so after the full deactivation, when I came back online, something that I've been doing since around that time is 1 day a week of social media. I don't think you need to be either fully online or fully offline. Like I said, having some healthy boundaries around your internet and social media use is just going to help you have clarity of mind and self and thought moving forward. So every Monday, I don't go on TikTok and I don't go on Instagram, because I find that those are the apps that I feel like suck me in the most. And I'm most likely to like go on a doom scroll or like just go on like a posting spree, as someone that's like a chronic IG story poster and like TikTok creator. So those are the two apps that I don't go on. I do go on Xiaohongshu on Monday because the app is in Chinese and my Chinese isn't good enough for me to feel like I'm fully sucked in. I just kind of like have a swipe if I want. Yeah, like that's kind of the vibe that I have every Monday. And you will not believe the impact that just that 1 day a week not being on social media on like Instagram and TikTok will have on your brain. Okay, it just gives it this really nice rest. Now if I don't have Monday off on social media because I have work or something, I'm like stressed, you know, and I have to find another day of the week to take off. But yeah, the general rule is 1 day a week off of the most addicting apps. Okay, and you realize the importance of just being present, and how like all that shit that's happening on the internet is not like right now in front of you. Okay, and I think that's something that I always was really cognizant of when I was younger, because the place that I was in looked nothing like the shit that I was seeing on the internet, you know? So I would always just have this cognitive dissonance. I'd be like, why do I have to care about what this stuff on the internet says when that's literally not my reality, you know? So there's that. And then like you go outside and you just see people walking around living their life, and you're like, yeah, this is actually reality, not what I'm looking at on my phone. And you also realize that humans are not supposed to be exposed to so much information at that kind of speed on a regular basis. Like, no wonder why people are struggling with their mental health, with their identity, because they're constantly being fed information and not being disciplined about how they consume or what they consume. 1 day off a week. Highly recommend. I'm thinking of increasing it to 2, honestly. Anyway, the next thing is no phones in sleeping areas. I don't have my phone in my bedroom. I don't wake up and look at my phone. I don't go to sleep looking at my phone. Even if I'm doom scrolling on the couch and then I leave my phone in the living room and go to bed, that's still better than me doom scrolling in bed. Like, I can't imagine a lifestyle where I go to sleep looking at my phone and wake up looking at my phone anymore. And that's a habit that I had pre-2020. Your sleeping area and your living area or whatever is like combined. Move it away from the bed, okay? No phone near the bed. Far enough that if you have an alarm, you have to actually physically get up and turn it off, okay? But in my bedroom, I have an alarm clock, digital alarm clock, and that's what I use to wake me up first. And then I will set an alarm on my phone in the living room 20 minutes after that. So then I have to actually get up and turn off my phone alarm. There was a point where I was like really depressed and constantly doom scrolling, that my dreams would be like formatted in social media. Like, I was dreaming in Instagram stories or TikTok videos or the Instagram grid. And I was like, you know what? That's not ideal. And sleep quality is something that I really want to work on next year. But you know, the more people research about sleep, even in Chinese medicine, sleep is so important. It's when your body heals. It's when your subconscious mind clears out and processes your experience. Think about what you're putting in your brain before you sleep. And also when you wake up in the morning, you're setting the vibe for the day according to what information you expose yourself to. And like I talk about in my Hot Girl Habits video, meditation and morning meditation is like such a foundational habit for me, non-negotiable habit, basically. I need 9 out of 10 days, if not like 19 out of 20 days, for me to be meditating in the morning. Wake up in the morning, meditate first. Even if it's like 10 minutes and then you look at your phone, is better than wake up, scroll, okay? Wake up, notifications. Very few people have a life or a lifestyle that requires them to be looking at their phone first thing in the morning, okay? 20 minutes not replying to an email, not replying to a message is probably not going to be a life or death situation, okay? Sometimes it might be, but most of the time it won't be. And spending a little time away from your phone is going to help you realize that. Honestly, you'll be so much more in tune with your intuition as a result of having healthy boundaries with your phone. If you really needed to get up and look at your phone and there was an emergency, your body would know before your phone did, okay? Also, related but not related, I read this article in The Atlantic once about the illusion of a ticking time bomb that is used in a lot of films and TV that is to, what's it called? Manufacture consent and like prime audiences to be okay with terrorism, basically measures against terrorism, anti-terrorism propaganda. We have to start a war now or the terrorists will win, okay? Fake news. By using this like ticking time bomb situation. All of these special agents say that in real life, in actual war zones, in actual espionage, very few situations are the ticking time bomb is created by the media. So you personally as a person probably don't have that many situations that are going to be life or death with your phone. Your phone has just made it seem that way because you watch content on such a high speed, not natural for your brain to process, that you've mangled your brain receptors, okay? So just to put that in perspective, very strange way for me to do so, but it's just something that I thought of. Another thing that I was doing for a while was no phone, no social media before a certain time of day. So I wouldn't go on TikTok or Instagram before, I think on some days it was 4 p.m, on other days it was 12 p.m. So I think I want to get into that next year, but recently it's been hard for me to do that. That's how I know I'm like addicted, because I'm like finishing my meditation and like, what's on the internet? Nothing is in chronological order anyway, you know? So no one even knows when you're online, when you're not online. They're just scrolling. Most people are looking at content while they're sitting on the toilet or like distracting themselves from work or in the middle of an argument with their partner. So it actually doesn't matter like the timeline in which you post stuff. So a lot of the time I just take pictures and videos as I'm living my life and I'll just randomly post them when I feel like it. I'm not loyal to any particular timeline because time is an illusion anyway, so whatever. The next thing is to set clear boundaries on what type of information you want to share, what type of contribution you want to make to the internet, and what type of information you want to consume, and having like a personal code of conduct for yourself. So for me, I have a lot of like personal boundaries in terms of what I share, what I create, what I consume, and also just like what I will and what won't respond to, because I get a lot of DMs of varying kinds. Like my DMs can be really scary. If you've ever sent me a DM that's been like well-intentioned and I haven't responded, it could be buried deep in the hidden like requests, which I don't try to venture into that often. But yeah, there's been times when I've ventured in there and I've been like, oh, wait, this is a DM that I actually should have received. And there have been DMs I've received that I'm like, this person should not have an account. They should not be allowed on the internet. Having your own personal code of conduct, like some of the things that I share, other people might not be comfortable with. Some of the things that other people share, I wouldn't be personally comfortable sharing. It's just personal preference, but also like safety as well. You know, make sure that you're protecting your privacy and your safety if you are going to be a public facing internet person, internet contributor, creator, whatever. Another thing is be selective with what notifications you have on. I don't think I have ever had Instagram notifications on ever since I got the app in like the 2010s. Not interested in having push notifications for Instagram. Never had push notifications for TikTok, and don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it for any social media. I don't even have the Twitter app. I just go on it every like once a week, not even, on web browser on my phone or on my computer and scroll. Like, Twitter is actually unhinged and not good for the mind if you spend too long on there. Also, I don't have the TikTok and Instagram app in my home screens. So I have to search for the app if I want to open it. Now it's gotten to the point where it's like literally reflexive for me to just search it, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference whether I have the app itself or not. But that's something that I did do also. You actually get to decide the boundaries that you have with the internet. Don't let the internet decide for you, because you don't know who's behind half the shit that you're consuming anyway. And I think maintaining like a healthy level of skepticism with everything you see on the internet, including what I share on the internet, is really important. Because even just recently, I'm seeing like this controversy with like Blake Lively and that Justin guy, who everything I know about him is against my will. But how quickly the tides turn with new information, okay? And you don't want to be one of those people that's just like blindly following the crowd. And because like, what service does it do to you? What does it add to your life for you to have like a definitive opinion on current events? You know, educate yourself on the history of misogyny and how the entertainment industry works and how the internet works or how history works, rather than thinking that you need to have an opinion on current events versus having an actual understanding and something of value to share. You know, if you're analyzing a situation and able to deduce some kind of lesson that people can take with them, I feel that that is more valuable than just being able to say whether you believe someone did or didn't do something just based on this information that you have. You weren't even there. You don't even know these people. You know, you wouldn't speculate about the people in your own life that way. So like, why waste your time doing it about celebrities? Separate conversation. Another thing is, be mindful of who you follow, okay? You don't have to follow celebrities. You don't have to follow news accounts, media accounts, if looking at it makes you uncomfortable or creates anxiety, okay? Because I think that like the best form of education and information is reading, and maybe like longer form content, but short form content, especially just looking at headlines, that's not going to teach you anything. That's just distracting you most of the time, okay? It's just like stimulating you, but you're not necessarily going to learn anything or develop a deeper understanding of certain issues just by surface level engagement, okay? There's nothing wrong with surface level engagement every now and then, but if your surface level engagement is literally affecting your mental health and your emotional regulation, your ability to emotionally regulate, reconsider, because it's not adding any value to your life. You being in a constant state of anxiety when there is no actual threat to you, not good, okay? You won't know how to actually clock real threats in your life if you're constantly stressed out by what you see on the internet, because that is not actually in front of you. It is a full-on mental trap and illusion to think that the images that you're seeing on your phone are what you're experiencing right now. Like, your brain can't really tell the difference, but the observer of your thoughts can, and you need to strengthen that muscle, not just like feeding the one that wants to feast on junk food all the time, you know, your base level human desire. That's how these apps are engineered, to keep you addicted and to keep you online. So when you also depersonalize it as well, and it's not like, oh my God, it's a personal failure because I have no boundaries around my social media use. You're a person, and all of these apps and these corporations are creating algorithms that keep you online, okay? So you're not a bad person because you've developed an addiction, but recognizing that you have an addiction also gives you the privilege and the awareness to start to take steps to manage your relationship with social media so that it can be healthy, and you don't have to think you need to go live in the woods like a hermit offline, okay? You can still enjoy the internet, but there are ways that you can be more mindful in how you use it so that it brings joy to your life and not stress, okay? It's important to educate yourself about current affairs, or the root and the history of how these current affairs have come to be. All the news is reporting on shit that's been decades in the works, okay? Like, you're not going to undo like a global scale conflict by being angry at your phone, okay? But if you actually take the time to read and educate yourself on the history of these conflicts, you will have a much better understanding and you will be more empowered to just make better decisions in your day-to-day life. And that if you ever got in a position where you had to be the deciding voice on a global conflict, you will know how to make a more informed choice, okay? Think of your digital diet similar to your physical diet, okay? Because if you realize that you were eating something all the time that was causing you health problems, would you keep eating it? No, that would not be wise. So why would you keep following and consuming media that makes you feel bad about yourself? It doesn't make sense, okay? And you want to believe that you're an exception and that you're mentally stronger, but you're obviously not, because you feel shit after reading articles from a certain website or looking at photos from a certain creator or a certain person or stalking a particular ex, okay? Side note, we're not stalking exes anymore. Not chic. If you end up there once a year, once every 6 months, that's one thing. But you're not supposed to know what your exes are doing. You know, back in the old days, when people broke up, they just broke up. You wouldn't really know what was going on. You wouldn't have like a 24/7 feed on what your ex was up to. If looking at that makes you uncomfortable or makes it hard for you to move on, don't keep looking at it, okay? Develop some self-discipline around what information you're consuming. Prioritize your mental health and being hot and having fun and slaying at the top of the list, okay? Everybody else's business can wait, because your mental business, your mental diet is more important. Look, I'm wearing this hat. It makes me look like a Q-tip. Okay, some other things that I forgot to mention is it's important, I believe, to have one fully offline activity, okay? One hobby that you have that allows you to put your phone to the side and not feel like you have to constantly pick up your phone and check your notifications, check your messages. So for me, that's usually something like yoga, pole dance, dance class. Of course, there are occasions where I might check my phone, where I might see what's on it, where I might have to reply to something, but most of the time I go into these spaces with the intention of putting my phone to the side and just focusing on living in the moment, connecting to my body, connecting to the community that is around this activity, having a good time, learning something new, okay? Especially if you are just kind of like working and maybe you don't have to set aside time to study or whatever, or your work and being online are very much intertwined. Having some space in your life a few times a week, at least once a week, where you just don't have your phone with you, okay? Like, I don't understand why people go to yoga class and have their phone next to their yoga mat, because the whole point is to like be present. But offline activity. If you don't go to an activity, you can just set a timer on your phone for like an hour and a half, once or twice a week, where you just do something and like try to get into a flow state. That could be coloring in, it could be doodling, it could be listening to music, just something, okay? And then the next thing is normalize being bored. Be okay with there just being space in between activities. You don't always have to check your phone when you're commuting, when you are waiting in line for things. Like, I got into the habit of not feeling like every time I'm waiting for something to pull my phone out and start scrolling. Of course, I still do that, but when you're first breaking your addiction, getting into the habit of being okay, just like staring into space and not having to have someone input information into your brain, not having to be constantly stimulated, especially if you want to be better at communication, if you want to have original ideas and thoughts. You want to give your brain a rest so that it can process all the information that you're intaking. Be okay with being bored. During this time, you can also be having like conversations with yourself. Okay, I do this all the time, where I'm talking through different ideas to myself rather than feeling like I'm in constant conversation with other people, okay? Entertain yourself. It's okay to like speak to and familiarize yourself with the different parts of your psyche. And I feel that not feeling like you need to constantly be stimulated is a really important practice to get into, because half the time when you're on social media, you're looking at ads anyway, okay? So maybe you read an ebook instead of scrolling on a social media app. That's better, But ideally, you still have moments where you don't need to be constantly scrolling, constantly consuming information, even just being okay with not listening to something, okay? Like, you don't have to always be listening to music or a podcast. I find that giving your brain just time to rest, be present, observe your surroundings, observe the subtleties and the sounds around you. You are never truly in dead silence anyway, so you can hear the sound of the traffic, you can hear the sound of my heater, you can hear the sound of the birds outside, the leaves rustling, there's so much beauty around you. Appreciate it instead of feeling like you have to constantly default to some external thing in order for your present to be enjoyable. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's okay to mentally rest. So important. So protect your mind, protect your energy, protect your peace. These are some thoughts on internet addiction, managing your relationship with social media and the internet. Are you a chronically online clown? Something to think about. You can be on the internet and enjoy it and have a healthy relationship with it and use it to your benefit, or you can be on the internet and hate yourself and hate your life and just double down on that negative spiral. The spectrum is wide. Now that you have an awareness of how wide the spectrum is, you can be more intentional in where you sit on it. And at first, it can be really, really hard. You're like, I must check. But over time, if you just keep at it, you realize that none of that shit matters as much as you think it does. You can be more intentional with your time and your consumption of media, what you create. And also, like, if you are an online creator, constantly seeing what other people are doing doesn't give you the space to come up with original ideas. Okay, so it's important to also have mental space. Like the Mondays that I have off TikTok and Instagram are so great because I'll have so many random ideas just like coming out of my brain in regards to all of the types of work that I do that I don't have as much when I'm spending 6 hours of the day scrolling on TikTok, replying to comments, making videos, whatever, posting unhinged Instagram stories. So yeah, also like when I'm on the plane, I also consider that like a dead zone. When even though the plane may or may not have Wi-Fi, I'm not online when I'm in the air. Okay. Or I also like don't love traveling sometimes because it's much harder to have healthy boundaries between my phone and the hotel bed. There's nothing better than being in a squishy hotel bed and doom scrolling. Like that is my guilty pleasure. So I let myself indulge every now and then, but it's really annoying if I have to work while I'm traveling. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Get an ebook reader so you can read that before you go to bed instead of a mobile device. Get a book, paperback, hardback. Those are options for you. Put a notebook by your bed if you have like pre-sleep gratitudes you want to list or pre-sleep thought dumps you want to let out before you go to bed. Time off from the phone. Really radical practice. Don't let corporations colonize your mind. Ask not what you can do for corporations, but what corporations can do for you. Okay, make sure that the time that you enjoy on the internet and in this life is enjoyable for you and the people around you. Mwah! Stay hot and having fun. Follow me on all the things. Drink lots of water. Tell your friends and family you love them. Go be a better person, and I'll speak to you soon. Love you.